There are a lot of rumors out there about this microphone. It sounds just like an SM7B, man.
No, dude, it sounds just like an RE20.
Man, this thing has a setting for chicks.
Dude, it's a dynamic condenser, I swear to God.
Is any of that true? Well, let's find out. First of all, let's dispel the dynamic condenser stuff. This is a dynamic microphone that includes an inline preamp. Basically, a microphone with a FET head or a cloud lifter already inside. That's all this is. Now, it is a great idea as it allows more versatility for more people that might not have the preamps to push something like, I don't know, an SM7B. The other thing that makes this microphone special is the ability to change the voicing of the microphone. And no, they are not EQ curves. Instead, it's just a different path for the signal that gives each one a different signature, and something you're going to see in a bit when we go over the frequency response. By the way, for the sake of this video, I will be keeping it in V1, and I will be running it with the inline preamp activated. I mean, because that's kind of the whole point of the microphone, right? Now, to be perfectly transparent, I did buy this mic used, and I like to do that sometimes to see how things weather over time. And considering one big thing about this, you'll see why. Now, there's a lot going on here with this build quality, so let's start at the bottom. Now, the voice selector at the bottom is plastic, but it does feel good. It's nice and clicky moving in between the voices. I do notice there's a bit of give in the selector, but it doesn't seem to impact the switching, so no real harm there. The bottom of the microphone has an XLR input, a switch for the light, and the link for the mount connector. Now let's talk about that mount connector. Personally, I despise gimmicks, and this feels super gimmicky. Now, when you put it in, you're going to notice a lot of play, probably a bit worn down after some use. And when you actually put the weight of the mic on it, it can lead to some horrific scenarios. But if you turn the connector around, it braces itself against the barrel of the XLR plug, which does sound like a decent idea at first, but as we've seen with wear and tear, that might just be asking for even more issues. Of course, you do have the metal barrel coming up to the top, which is plastic. Now, I have seen a lot of reviewers wondering why they made this design decision, and I don't know if it's a design issue or if it's an actual practical gravity decision. You see, the type of connector at the back seems to be the problem. More weight in the front just compounds the amount of weight on the back, which makes this decision even more confusing. Anyhow, at the top, you have a bit of material to protect against pops. We'll see how that does later. As for the mount, well, it's plastic, and well, aside from the key wearing down, it is also a plastic mount, which means it sometimes doesn't hold the weight of the mic as it should, but honestly, the plastic doesn't feel cheap, so you do have that. As I mentioned before, this is a dynamic microphone with the cardioid polar pattern. Your frequency response is 20 Hz to 20 kHz, and you can see how each deviates in the graph when you look at the voicings. Not a whole bunch between them, but you can see each has a very similar curve. Self-noise is at 10 dB. The max SPL is 140 dB, meaning this thing can take a sonic punch, but I'm guessing that's with the inline preamp not activated. Other than that, there isn't much. Now, there are a couple sensitivity specs that are on the Aston website, but generally I get my specs from Sweetwater or B&H. So if they don't list it, I'm going to guess there's usually a reason for that. Now, let's go through all the voicings on this microphone, okay? So this is voice 1. This is the voicing that I think most people are going to be using. This is what a lot of people think is the guy's voicing. Now, this is V2 on the microphone, and this is what a lot of people assume is the women's voicing, but I haven't been able to see anything online about that. There have been no claims. Nobody's actually said the women's voicing, so use it as you may. You might prefer V2 over V1. I kind of prefer V1. This is the guitar voicing on my voice. This is how it sounds. And I don't think this is meant for voice. I do actually think this is meant for voicing both acoustic and or electric guitars. And this is the dark mode. This is the moodiness. This is the broadcasty. This is the broadcaster's microphone setting. Let me know, do you like the sound? I'll check it out in post, and I'll let you know up here somewhere whether or not I like the sound of this dark mode.
Here we have the Aston Stealth on V2. This setting is widely considered the female voice setting, which is complete shit because women can use whatever setting on a mic they want. In case you were wondering how this mic sounds on other voicings, this is the Aston Stealth in V1. This is now the G setting, and this is the D setting. Anyways.
Now let's do the off-axis rejection for the Aston Stealth. This is me speaking about 5 inches away from the front of the microphone. Now I'm about 5 inches away from the side of the microphone, and this is how it sounds. And it just came off. Now I'm speaking about 5 inches away from the capsule from the rear of the microphone, and this is how it sounds. And now I'm speaking into the other side of the microphone from about 4 inches away, and this is how it sounds. Now, the handling noise test on this thing is, well, people that grab the microphone, and this is the sound of the handling noise, which, by the way, I have to include that little bump, that looseness. It's enough for the handling noise test, right? I figured. Now for a plosive test of the Aston Stealth. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now for the proximity effect test of the Aston Stealth. This is me speaking about 6 inches away from the front of the capsule. And this is me about 1 inch away from the capsule. 6 inches, 1 inch. 6 inches, 1 inch. This is a proximity effect test of dark mode. This is me approximately 5 inches off the front of the microphone. Now I'm about 1 inch off the front of the microphone. 5 inches away, 1 inch. 5 inches, 1 inch. Now we have the Aston Stealth versus the SM7B. I'm going to be switching back and forth between them, and I'm also going to use some of the other settings on the Aston mic. All right? So this is voicing 1 on the Aston Stealth versus the SM7B. Let's switch. Now we have voicing 2 on the Aston Stealth versus the SM7B. Which one do you like between the two of these? These are the two voicings that you have on the Aston Stealth. Now we're on the guitar voicing of the Aston Stealth. And this is what it sounds like. This is the SM7B, and this is the Aston Stealth. By the way, I'm about 6 inches away from both. See what you think. And now we have dark mode between the SM7B and the Aston Stealth. This is the mode that I think a lot of people are referring to as being like the SM7B. So what do you think? Which one do you prefer? Man, these are going to take a long time if I have to switch between all the profiles. But we've got to do this. We have to test them. The RE20 is coming up next. But first, let me know. This is dark mode on the Aston Stealth versus the SM7B. Which one do you like? Now we have the Aston Stealth versus the RE20. This is the Aston Stealth on V1, and this is just the RE20. Nothing has been activated, it's flat. And this is how they sound. Are there any similarities between the Aston Stealth and the RE20? Remember, this is a much cheaper microphone than this. What do you think? Now let's switch through the profiles once again because this video needs to be 25 minutes long from doing all the voicings. Now, we have the Aston Stealth and the RE20. Both are about 6 inches away from my face. And this is how they sound. This is the Aston Stealth with the settings on V2, or the female settings. And this is how it sounds. What do you think? Do you prefer one over the other, or do they sound similar? I obviously can't tell right now because I'm not in post-production and I don't have my headphones on. So let me know. What do you think? V2. Is V2 good for my voice? I don't think so. Now we have the G setting between the Aston Stealth in G mode and the RE20. This one is the guitar mode for the Aston Stealth. That's not meant for voice, but hey, why not test it? What do you think going between the Aston Stealth on G mode and the RE20? This is the dark mode for the Aston Stealth. What do you think of the difference between the dark mode on the Aston Stealth and the RE20? Which one do you prefer? I'm going to leave this one out there because I think this is the dark mode that everyone thinks is comparable to the two of these, being broadcast mics and being relatively flat, but with the boominess. So which one do you prefer? D or the RE20? D, RE20. So let's just get this out of the way. This is not a replacement for an SM7B, or is it a replacement for an RE20? Those mics are legendary in their own right, and honestly, for a good reason. If you're buying this microphone for that reason, just stop it, put it down, and don't bother. That aside though, I like the microphone. It's versatile. I don't find it as nearly as smooth as either the aforementioned microphones, but I do think this thing serves a purpose. Multiple voicings is a massive deal and one that I could see working for a lot of home studios. Now, if you're recording music, the guitar setting is cool, and the dark setting just means you may be switching out mics less for different sounds. This would be a great first mic to buy for that very reason. That said though, I think for most people, you're going to find the one setting you like, you're probably just going to park it. For spoken word, it does sound nice, though a bit harsh at times, especially my sibilants. But I also prefer it without the inline preamp activated, which brings us to that. Now, I think it's cool that this is a dynamic mic that can be used by anyone with any interface. You could have the absolute worst preamps, and this thing will still shine. It does make you wonder why more companies are not doing it. And if you want to see someone do that to a microphone, make sure you hit subscribe, as I plan on doing that very thing to an SM58 or my SM7B, depending on how much room I need. All that said though, the mic does have some glaring issues. The mount is just a flat out dumb idea. Well, it's not dumb, it's just not well thought out. Yes, you can probably get a different one if it breaks, but the idea of hard mounting it from the inside of the microphone leads to many different issues, especially with vibration. Literally, vibrations will be delivered to the center of the mic body instead of its shell, and those vibrations will only become worse as it loosens over time. Also, the idea that you can use the XLR to prop it up as it loosens is just mind-bending. And honestly, probably the reason it's loose is because of chonky XLR connectors. Now, you can also get the all-in-one shock mount for Aston mics, but that is a whole bunch more money that shouldn't be necessary. So should you buy it? Well, if you're looking to replace the tonality of the SM7B or the RE20, no, flat out. Just go out and buy the mic you want for that. But if you're looking for a super versatile mic that has multiple voicings and sounds pretty good, sure. For the price, and by the way, it's often on sale, it's a pretty sweet buy. And to that point, with the new ownership over at Aston, this microphone might not be around much longer. Well, I guess we'll have to see. But if you want it, links are in the video description. So what did you think? Would this microphone fit your studio? Let me know down in the video description. If you like this video, show some love with that like button. If you really liked it though, consider subscribing and checking out some of the other mic tests we have done. Cheers, and I will see you in the next video. I went the whole video and I didn't have the light on. Gotta be kidding me. Can you see that? Can you even see the light? I can a little bit. It's a little bit there, a little purple. Kind of matches the background. The light is stupid. It's stupid. It's pretty though. I love you.
My husband doesn't know which V is the V.
I don't know my V's.
And as my husband says,
Yes!
this is now the D setting.
You're supposed to say this is now the D.
No. And scene.
You're not supposed to touch it. Don't touch it, it flops.
Well, that's dumb. Anyways.
I love you. This is love. You know that? This is the true meaning of love.
And scene.